So the other day I went to my local micro center and they had a lot of GPUs in stock actually. Surprisingly, they even had 5070s at MSRP in stock and nobody bought them. Now, this was the day that the 5060 Ti came out. And they had those in stock as well. And remember, I went hours after the launch. Usually these GPUs come out at like, I think 9 in the morning they open up. I was there like in the afternoon. So this was not, early at all. It's not like I was there waiting in line. So for these GPUs to still be in stock hours later, that tells you something interesting, especially at MSRP, right? Like the 5060 Ti, the ones that I saw there, I didn't see any at MSRP. There were some, I think an Asus one that was over $500 for 5060 Ti, the 16 gigabyte model. And most of them seem to be in the higher 400 range, which is still well above what the MSRP is. Because remember, these are third-party AIB models, so they're gonna do with the price as they wish, depending on the cooler they have and everything else. And now let's hear a word from our sponsor, VIP-CDKdeals.com, a Windows Pro CD key. Add to cart, you put in code CC20. This will also work on Windows 11. You want to go into your settings in Windows, change and adjust your CD key, click activate, and now let's go back to the video. But what surprised me was the 5070 at $549. I've seen 5070s in stock before at Micro Center, but they were over $700. I think it was an Asus Tough. It was like 700 and something. And then I could see that. I'm like, nobody should buy that anywhere near that price. For $549, if you're coming from like an older GPU, maybe like even a 30 series, 5070 for its MSRP, it's not terrible. It's funny how the 4070 Super is still better than the 5070 in some cases. Obviously, the 5070 has DLSS 4. That's what NVIDIA really pushes, and it's going to be superior for that. But let's say if you're judging it based on traditional rasterization, you're not buying into that magic yet. The 4070 Super, that was a good GPU. Like when that came out for $599, I remember I was testing the 4070 Super and I was playing Cyberpunk. I believe it was 4K. And obviously, I had to tweak a little bit of the settings, but with DLSS 3, I was like, you know what? A 4070 Super is a good GPU. It's 12 gigabytes of VRAM, obviously not ideal for 4K, but with DLSS 3 at the time, that was a good GPU that you can push it for stuff. It's obviously a 1440p GPU, but I wanted to see what it would do at 4K. And I was surprised how it was very playable. It looked great. There wasn't like that night and day difference that you would expect between that and a 4090. A 4090, obviously, you're going to get much better performance, but when you're playing, you don't really notice it that drastically. So the 4070 Super, I think, was a better GPU than we give it credit for. That's why the 5070 doesn't look so good, because it's kind of being compared to something that, okay, 5070 is $50 cheaper, but it also doesn't seem to be anywhere near as good as the 4070 Super if you account for a generational uplift that's supposed to happen, right? Like it's supposed to be what, 15-20% better if you expect a newer generation. I remember when the 3070 came out, in some games it got close to a 2080 Ti, which was the previous generation flagship. I think every generation it looks like I find the GPU that kind of bothers people and bothers me. Like for example, last generation, it was the original 4070 Ti at 12 gigabytes of VRAM. I could never accept that GPU fully for what it is, because $799 MSRP, and it can't really do 4K that well for that price because of the 12 gigabyte of VRAM. It had a narrow memory bus, which did give issues when you're playing games with high textures and even in ray tracing, especially if you want to do 4K. So, okay, NVIDIA, branded it as a 1440p GPU, but it's still $800 plus. Some of them were $900 or even $1,000 for the AIBs. So that was my GPU then, that I really decided to kind of like go a little bit hard on. When they updated it to the Super, the 16 gigabyte, I thought that was definitely a better GPU and a better value. At least you have 16 gigabytes of VRAM. So that kind of eliminated some of those complaints, because that GPU then could justify its price a little bit better. So I'm fine with that one. This generation, I think it's the 5070. I usually like the 70 class GPUs. I think Typically, they present a very good value. The 3070 was great. Obviously, the star of that generation was probably the 3080. Aside from all the pricing issues and availability, for $699, 3080 is pretty good. Like that was an amazing GPU at the time, and still today. Obviously, the 3090 was the high-end one, but twice the price. So 3080 was the sweet spot in value to performance. That's where the 5070 should be. But when the 4070 Super is like running neck and neck with it, I don't know. Like I would have expected it to perform better than it really did. Obviously, it's funny when Jensen said when it was announced that the 5070 is as fast as a 4090. Obviously, he then said because of the magic of AI. I don't think he should have said that though. That's definitely not a good way to run with this because they have to be aware that people aren't fully accepting of DLSS and AI technology and GPUs yet. It's a great technology. I use it when I play. I absolutely love it. But it's a feature. It's not like GPUs or AI powerhouses yet. We're still in that transition phase. So it should be sold as like an extra feature that's cool to have, right? Like ray tracing or something. In my opinion, DLSS should be sold as an additional feature that the GPU has, but not the main selling point. Like it should be something like ray tracing. Oh, it can do this if you want in some games. You can turn it on, but don't make it like it's faster than a 4090. It's not true. It's only true in DLSS 4, but then everything else, the 4090 is such a better GPU that it's not even close. The 4090 still beats even a 5080 that we have now. So never mind the 5070. So that kind of takes away a little bit from, DLSS is a fantastic technology, but we're not there yet where gamers are relying on just AI and those type of things. There's still issues. Not every game supports it. So I don't think it's a good selling point. If they can't make a faster GPU, I don't know, can they? Like the 5090 is really, really fast. It's much faster than the 4090. Why can't they just start to, pare that down a little bit? Maybe make the 5080 the 5070 instead. That would be a good GPU if the 5080's performance was a 5070 with the same price. Obviously, I don't think it's a technical limitation. It's more of a financial sort of product stack limitation by how much that they're paying for stuff. But the prices of these GPUs aren't going down; they're going up. Even though we see a 5070 for $550, most of the time you're not going to find it for that. This was just this Micro Center on that day. If you look online, most 5070s are probably going to be over $700, so not far off from what a 4070 Ti originally was. So that's why they changed the product stack a little bit. We're getting less performance for more money. If you're getting a lot more performance for more money, I think people can stomach that a lot easier. Like the 5090 definitely is way too expensive, but people are still buying it. You can't find it. So obviously people accept that level of performance, be it for gaming or for AI or whatever people are doing with this GPU, that it's sold out perpetually everywhere, even when the economy's shaky. Like that's, sometimes it's surprising to me. I watch this stuff all the time and I'm like, man, there are people lined up every day at Micro Center before it opens to get potentially a 5090. They don't even know if a shipment's coming in. And now, obviously, they're not going to be gamers necessarily. They may be reselling the GPU, but somebody's buying them, right? And not only are they buying them, they're buying them at way above the MSRP. If an MSRP of a 5090 now is around 3,000, which seems to be like at least the average price for most of them, people are probably paying, 3,800, 4,000 plus, if not more, on like the secondhand market for one of these. So it's pretty interesting what's going on here. This is definitely much weirder time than even the GPU shortages in 2021 and 22. But it's interesting to see GPUs in stock, even the 5070. That shows you the demand really isn't there that much. We can't look at the 5090 as any indicator for the market or anything like that, because that's a GPU that's like not only for gamers, but it has like AI use cases. They're using it for all types of crazy stuff. So that's a different product. In the 5080, you can see they have 5080s in stock. 5080 is not the same story as the 5090. So we're going to have to see what happens. I think, unfortunately, people are just not going to be excited about PC gaming. Like a PlayStation 5 Pro seems like a really good value right now. Like for $699, you get a system that has a lot of cool exclusives and great graphics, like that's not a bad price for 700. It seemed expensive before, right? When it came out, even the Switch at $450, not seeming so bad compared to, like, you could barely get a 5060 Ti for $450, and that's just the start of your build. Obviously, a PC is, amazing. You can do all sorts of things in Steam. You have way more flexibility, cheaper games too. But still, some of this hardware is getting really expensive where it's making console gaming seem okay for now, or pretty good. I love playing on the PlayStation 5 and on the Xbox. It has ease of use that sometimes you want for like a platform game. You don't want to be going through, Steam and all this stuff. But pretty soon, I bet those prices are going to start going up as well. Wouldn't be surprised if we see $1,000 PlayStation soon, with this trend that everything keeps going up. All right, guys, so let me know what you think down below. Have you seen GPUs in stock? And what are you thinking about the market right now? And I'll see you guys on the next video.